Hey guys, welcome back. Trip Coach here with Drip and Farm for Property, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate with integrity and transparency. In, in today's video, got a clip from Simply Bitcoin with Dante talking about what took place right before or during the assassination of Charlie Kirk that was happening behind the scenes. This is something I've talked to a couple of my friends with. It's like whenever there's something polarizing or attention grabbing, there needs to also be a question of what are they trying to get you to not pay attention to, or what's going on behind the scenes, the classic magician kind of approach of misdirection. And I forgot who has the quote or phrase, but it's like, never let a tragedy go to waste. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes or what this is actually about, but according to Simply Bitcoin's research and what Dante's going to share here is that there was some updates or review of the Patriot Act and essentially making it more in line with digital surveillance of digital money. So let's take a listen.
Get back to our show and what I think is happening, just like after the wake of 9/11, when they implemented the Patriot Act. Since 9/11, the Patriot Act has significantly shaped our financial world. In 2001, we saw the financial system usher in new things like KYC, AML, the sharing of data between public and private entities, without anyone's consent or control. Entities that we didn't give permission to are now allowed to censor and collect information in the name of terror. Companies like Palantir were funded during this time. When they couldn't get any capital from VCs or anyone else, agencies like the CIA stepped in to be their first funders. In fact, from 2005 to 2008, well, they were their only customer. And now these technologies are embedded into all of the systems that we use every day. They give people the...
Now, if you're not familiar with Palantir or data surveillance or any of this other stuff, I highly suggest you look into it. Essentially, this is what I was talking about in another video, just kind of briefly, but the ability for them to roll out a digital ID is a lot closer than you think. You would think, oh, I got to opt into this or I got to, consent or whatever, but nope. Essentially going all the way back to when Apple started using voice recognition and capturing your fingerprint and then facial ID and all this other stuff. All these companies essentially are sharing data to these agencies like Palantir or whatever is behind the Patriot Act. So this means that if you use a digital device that connects to any social media giant, tech giant, then your identity has been captured to some degree somewhere, unless you're living, off the grid as a hermit. They already have more than enough to create or authenticate a digital version of you. Again, like Dante was saying here, without your consent. So highly recommend you, dig into that. And like I mentioned here, I'm seeing it now in Ecuador as well as in Colombia. The cedula, which is essentially a digital ID card. You can think of it like a driver's license, but more akin to a social security number because it goes across the entire country. And they use this identification card like in everyday interactions. So it's not quite a social credit score like China, but they have cameras and stuff everywhere, and it's tied to that cedula and that ID. So kind of tracking to a degree where you've been and what you're doing. Doesn't seem as invasive. It's very passive, but I had no idea it was ingrained in countries like this. I thought that was only like a China kind of thing, but I'm seeing it in real time out here. So the point I'm getting at is this is much more real and moving forward than many of us might think.
The systems that we use every day. They give people the ability to retrieve information from you without any of your consent. This isn't science fiction, it's science fact, and I don't think that it's going away. And now the United States government intends to enact more sweeping reforms to the Bank Secrecy Act, allowing them to not just control information in the physical realm, but also the digital realm. On September 9th, Andrea Gacki, the director of FinCEN, and giving the United States Treasury the ability to censor crypto transactions. So the Special Measures to Fight Modern Threats Act grants the U.S. Treasury the power to censor a transaction without the public knowing or without their consent. Issued in 2022, gives the United States Treasury Treasury the ability to censor transactions without any public notice or consent under the authority of the Patriot Act. And in this scope, any global transaction or Bitcoin transaction, which by its very nature is global because it is a global decentralized blockchain, can in fact be censored by the United States Treasury. These are any transactions that involve multiple people, wallets, or addresses, meaning anything that happens on an exchange. These are any transactions that have to do with any pooling or mining of resources, aka any Bitcoin mining transaction. They're allowed to censor any transactions that have anything to do with programmatic code, aka decentralized blockchain technology like Bitcoin. They're allowed to censor any transaction that has any created or single-use wallet address, anything that has to do with time-locking coins, or any exchange between crypto and any other digital asset. So they're effectively creating a policy to blanket censor anything that they can or deem unlawful in the future. And this is
So that is interesting to me. And this is another reason why I say, especially with Coinbase, I don't exactly trust them. I have, I use them because it's easy to transact to get Bitcoin and all that. And I even have my Morpho loan through them, but something just doesn't feel right with the long-term approach to what's going on behind the scenes. And again, we've seen historically the US seize and make having gold illegal. There is nothing, in my opinion, that could give us the certainty that could not happen or would not happen again, where in the future they could say it's now illegal to own Bitcoin and we're confiscating the Bitcoin and turning it into a Bitcoin standard, same way they did with the gold, just so they can, rebalance the books. So this that Dante's talking about with the Bank Secrecy Act and the Patriot updates that the Treasury was discussing, and then being able to censor or monitor transactions, just all kind of points to this dystopia. So again, don't trust, verify, do your research, find out about this stuff. But the best thing you can do is just self-custody Bitcoin. And then if shit hits the fan, the next best thing you can do is get the hell out of any location that is taking your sovereignty and freedom away. Because make no mistake, there will be other places that will happily allow people to maintain their own ownership and sovereignty. So there will always be somewhere to go. And I know many of us may not want to believe that would happen in the US, but remember a while back when the truckers in Canada were pretty much turned into outlaws overnight, just in their banks frozen, simply because they wanted to peacefully protest. So happened to the next door neighbors. It could definitely happen in the US. I have no idea if, this is a guarantee or not, but it's definitely something you should look into. And at a minimum, again, you can opt out by simply self-custodying Bitcoin. So by all means, use these centralized exchanges. It does make it easy to DCA and to buy, but remove your Bitcoin from their custody, at least on a monthly or weekly basis or something like that. You can definitely leave some there, in my humble opinion, to trade with. But long term, I have no idea how this will go, which is another reason also why I still have my Binance account, because they operate more globally. So I believe that gives me a little more freedom and flexibility. It's kind of like having multiple passports. If one country gets crazy, then you can all of a sudden say you're from another country and enjoy some of those benefits. Let me know what you guys think. Did you hear about any of this? Have you done any research on this? What your thoughts on it are? Smash that HBO special, help a brother out. Like, subscribe, comment down below. And until next time, live daily and achieve your impossible. See you.